Okay, this is another reaction video. This is Passport 2. Please click like, share, and subscribe for them as well as for me right down there. I would appreciate it. 5 things totally normal to Germans but very strange to Americans. Alcohol, culture shocks. Well, I'm not big into alcohol, but I did have quite a few, Beck's beer when I was in Germany, which was really, really good. Much better than you get here. But let's see, 5 things that are totally normal to Germans but very strange to Americans. Let's see what this has to do with.
Is beer in Germany as good as beer in the U.S.?
I think it is. I think it's better, actually.
Hey guys, and welcome back to our channel. I am Donnie, and along with my wife Aubrey, we are 2 Americans currently living in Germany with our baby, sharing all of our experiences living and traveling throughout Europe. We all know by now that the age in which you can purchase alcohol is vastly different between Germany and the US.
Now, when I was growing up, it was 19 to drink beer, but 21 to drink alcohol. Until 1986, I believe, is when it changed to 21. And my brother was actually grandfathered in. And he actually had 2, he lost his driver's license, got a new one, and then had an old one. So when I went up there in high school, I was able to use that to drink beer. I was able to use, because he and I kind of look alike.
In the US, you can't buy any alcohol until you're 21, but in Germany, you can already buy things like beer and wine at 16 and hard liquors at 18. But of course, this isn't the only thing different about the alcohol culture between Germany and the US. From what drinks are popular to where people buy drinks or even how they drink, it's crazy how different alcohol is between Germany and the US. And that's exactly what I'm going to talk about today in my video. This one's a doozy, so grab a can and a koozie. So what would a video about alcohol differences in Germany be if it didn't kick off by talking about what Germany is most famous for? Beer. Now,
yeah, Germany is very famous for their beer. That is my brother and my dad drank a lot of Beck's beer when they were in Germany. I had it a couple times, not very often. I usually drank Sprite or something else because I'm not a big beer drinker. But I did have Beck's. The second to last night I was there, I went down to a bar, hotel, and had a Beck's beer. It was actually pretty good.
Let me first establish that I am not a beer drinker and therefore am far from a beer expert on quality or taste. So you guys can let me know in the comments why you think American beer is so much better than German beer in the comments below. But I've still been able to observe some pretty significant differences in the culture around beer between Germany and the US. One of the biggest differences when it comes to beer is what is actually allowed to be called beer in Germany versus in the US. I recently had my brother-in-law visit and we did a video about his and my sister's experience as Americans in Germany. In that video, he had this to say about beer in Germany.
I really enjoyed the German beers I had. I think the main thing that surprised me is, at least in the States, there is like an immense amount of variety. When I think of beer garden, to me it sounds like it's a garden of beers. And so there's like this wonderful variety of lights and darks and sours and IPAs and whatnot. Whereas I think in reality it was more like there was one beer sponsor that had a few beers there. I'm disappointed in the lack of variety. I'm not disappointed in the quality.
Okay, that's I mean, there are a lot of different variety of beers in America. That's definitely, but right now, one of the biggest beer brands that's going through a hard time is Bud Light because of the Dylan Mulvaney kind of thing. I'm not going to get into it if you don't know what I'm talking about. You can look it up. But that's there is definitely a variety of beers. There's really a different kind of beers that you can drink in the United States.
But this is primarily because in Germany they have a beer purity law that was first established in 1516 that dictates that beer may only contain water, hops, and barley. Yeast wasn't known about yet, but that was later added to this purity law, and this is actually the world's oldest food regulation, I might add. And because of this law, my brother-in-law's comments aren't something that are unique to just him based on my interactions with other foreigners in Germany, and even German craft brewers have complained that the Reinheitsgebot restricts their creativity as they are effectively restricted to 4 ingredients. Advocates of reforming or removing the law argue that the brewery culture in neighboring Belgium has flourished despite the lack of such a regulation. Of course, the US doesn't have a purity law like this, and therefore some beers in the US wouldn't actually be allowed to be sold as beer in Germany if it was brewed in Germany. For example, like Budweiser, which contains rice, which actually Budweiser also isn't allowed to be sold in Germany as Budweiser either because of a legal fight they lost against the original Budweiser beer from the Czech Republic. So 2 strikes against them.
Well, actually, I mentioned the third strike is what happened with the Dylan Mulvaney kind of thing. But, again, that is interesting. That's something I did not know, is you only had 4 ingredients and you can't be creative with your beer. That hurts.
I guess. So in the US, much like Belgium, a much broader range of drinks are allowed to be called beers compared to Germany. In fact, some Germans might even argue you could bottle water in the US, call it beer, and you wouldn't taste or know the difference.
Well, I don't know about that. I think I know the difference between bottled water and beer. But
people have to choose between crunchy peanut butter cups and creamy peanut butter cups, and they're here for just a limited time. You know everyone's going to
allowed to be called beer in Germany versus in the US. I recently had my brother-in-law visit, and we did a video about his and my sister's experience. When I was in university, I did a study abroad program in Germany, and I live with a family in Bonn, which is in throwing distance from Cologne. This is where I learned
Bonn, I think, was actually the capital of West Germany, if I'm not mistaken. Please let me know if it was. But I think Bonn was the capital of West Germany, and I've been to Cologne before.
2 important lessons in Germany, and that is that 1, sometimes national pride can be hard to find in Germany, but regional pride is on full display in the local drink of choice. And 2, Germans are quite particular about what types of glasses they drink their local drink of choice in. For Cologne, the drink of choice is an Altbier, that is to be drunk from an Altbier glass. Just kidding, that is the drink for Cologne's arguably biggest rival, Dusseldorf. In Cologne, you would actually drink a Kölsch, and specifically from a Kölsch glass. Besides just types of beer, though, nearly every local
Now, I don't really know what matters what kind of glass, because most people just drink it out of the can or drink it out of the bottle. But I guess, I guess in Germany we drank it out of glass, so I guess that makes sense.
Region is going to have a local brewer specifically that is going to be the preferred and most popular choice. For example, in our area, we are relatively close to the German town of Bitburg, and therefore you will find Bitburger beer everywhere you go. And with Bitburger being a Pils, you will most often see it being served only in a Pils glass. You could dedicate a whole video to the various glasses made for specific beers that Germans drink from, with some being more famous than others, but what I've also come to learn is that although Germans are particular about what type of glass their beers are consumed from, they also have other specific glassware that represents regional pride for other drinks. For example, in the Pfalz, which is a wine region, you will see people sipping on Weinschorles, or a glass of wine that has been diluted with carbonated water, which are traditionally served in Dubegläser. These are then carried over as an image of local pride and can be found on shirts, as lighting fixtures, or even permanently inked into the skin of true Pfälzische Leute. Well, actually, I'll also admit that we do use Dubegläser for.
Now, this is something that's very unusual from the United States. It's very strange to American, which is, I guess, part of the title of this video, is that you have a specific glass that you have to put your beverage in. Okay, in the United States, it doesn't matter what glass you put. The United States, it really just doesn't matter. You just put it in whatever you have. But in Germany, I guess you have to use a specific glass for the specific beverage that you're using.
For every drink we use, because they are just the perfect and stylish cup, but Moving on. Now, there are tons of different varieties of specific regional drinks and the specific corresponding glasses they come in. And actually, I would really be interested in our German viewers commenting what unique drink or beer brand is their region's most popular choice and what kind of drinkware it is consumed from. But in the US, I would say it has been my experience that Americans don't have this specific culture. Sure, you're going to find the beer or wine connoisseur here and there.
Yeah, you're gonna find beer and wine connoisseurs here and there, but nobody. Usually it's just whatever you got on tap. I mean, it's not something that's cultural. Well, I mean, it's not regional. It's not cultural. It's just whatever's good. Whatever is usually good enough for Americans. That's usually how we do things.
There that are passionate about this sort of thing and knows what types of glasses certain drinks should be poured into, but overall, Americans are known for one special drinking vessel that you will not find in Germany, the red Solo cup. This is the cup of...
Yes, the red Solo cup is probably, it's a plastic cup, and you use it for everything. Whenever you have a picnic, a cookout, or something like that, or even just you don't want to do your dishes, okay? You don't want to, whatever. You get a red Solo cup, you drink it, you use it, you drink it, and then you throw it away. That's how it works.
Of choice for university parties, family reunions, or casual hangouts, and I would say is a stereotype of American culture that definitely is true. However, if Americans aren't drinking from a red Solo cup, they might be drinking a beer from a beer can directly that is paired with another American oddity, the beer koozie. A little...
Yeah, that's well, that I don't see a lot of people with those. Occasionally you do see them, but those are just things you put on the beer. So yeah, you're not freezing your hand off on the beer. I don't know. It is what it is. Like I said, I don't drink a lot of beer, and you also drink out of the glass too, out of the bottle.
Foamy device designed to help keep your hands from getting cold and your drink from getting warm. Early in our time living in Europe, we took a trip to Venice during the summer. As we would walk around the city, we would see people sipping on bright orange drinks, but it wasn't just one or two people. It was literally every single table, as if this was a glitch in the simulation and every person was assigned the same drink. Ooh, that's starting to get a little bit out there. So anyways, Aubrey got one since we had never seen it before, and that seemed like the drink of Venice, so we thought, while in Venice, do as the Venetians do. However, we arrived back in Germany, and as we would walk around, we saw the glitch in the simulation was worse than we ever thought, because every single German was also sipping on one of those orange drinks. So what are they? Well, they are an Aperol Spritz, the drink of not just Venice or Germany specifically in the summer, but of Europe in general during the summertime. However, this drink was essentially completely unheard of in the US up until supposedly a couple of years ago. But
Yeah, I've never heard of it before. I've never seen it. I've never heard of it. I have nothing. In fact, I didn't see it when I was in Germany in 2006. I was there in the summertime. I don't remember seeing it. But, okay.
even still, nearly every American we have encountered over in Europe or that has come over and visited us from the US look kind of cockeyed at this orange drink because they've never seen it before. So what's an Aperol Spritz exactly? Aperol itself is a bitter aperitif, and spritzers don't come from Germany, but the word does come from the German language as spritzen, meaning to spray, as in spraying soda water into wine. The best place to get the recipe, I guess, would be from Aperol itself, who says it's 3 parts Prosecco, 2 parts Aperol, 1 splash of soda, and garnished with 1 slice of orange. Oh, and of course, we are specific about it best being served in a large wine glass.
Yes, of course. We got to have the glass. We got to make sure we have the correct glass. If we don't have the correct glass, then we can't have it.
But how does an Aperol Spritz actually taste? Well, according to the New York Times in 2019, the sugary aperitif is something that drinks like a Capri Sun after soccer practice on a hot day. The Aperol Spritz isn't actually good. So, 2 thoughts I have with this. 1, if Americans don't know about this drink, then how is there an article written about it in the New York Times 4 years ago?
Well, the New York Times is probably, they probably had a question about it. I saw this orange drink. Who knows? But it is something that it's something that we don't have in America. I've never seen it. In the United States, I've been here all my life. I've never seen that before. Never seen that drink before at all.
And 2, is this journalist correct about the flavor? Well, for the first question, in a different New York Times article from this year, the drink received a concerted marketing push in the US in 2017, making it a relatively brand newcomer as the Campari group who makes Aperol tries to introduce Americans to this European summertime favorite. Now, Aperol was created in 1919 near Venice, but really became popular in the 1950s and 60s in Europe. So comparatively, where Europeans have been sipping on this drink and enjoying it for roughly 60 to 70 years in large numbers, the US has just started to learn about it. However, in terms of the second question about the flavor, I don't know. What's your take on the flavor of Aperol? Do you agree with the New York Times journalists? Speaking of seeing people out drinking, those examples I was talking about with the Aperol Spritz was primarily people sitting outside at cafes or beer gardens. However, one of the biggest shocks and differences between alcohol culture in the US and Germany is the ability to drink alcohol in public in Germany, whereas in the US, this is generally verboten.
Yeah, in the United States, if you buy a beer and you're out in public drinking said beer out of a glass, out of a bottle, whatever, that's illegal. You can't do that. Okay, now you can do it at a well, how can I put it? Like if you're in a picnic area, you can do that, but in a public area, you have to like if I buy a thing of beer, I need to have like a paper bag or something over it so people don't know that I'm actually drinking it. But I guess, but in Europe, it's different.
I think I remember the first time that we had this culture shock in Germany. We were on a train and a group of women got on the train and each had a wine glass and they had a bottle of wine they were pouring and drinking freely from. We saw them and were astonished.
You know, that was another thing. You can't drink alcohol on TV either. In the United States, like if you have a beer, commercial, you can show it, you can talk about it, but you can't actually drink it. In Germany, I saw German footballers, during World Cup, they advertised their beer and they'd show them drinking it, which was unusual in the United States.
By one, the fact that they were walking around a city and getting on a train with a proper wine glass to drink from rather than a travel disposable cup like Americans would probably use. And 2, they were just out drinking in public? And this is something that you will commonly see, especially in the spring and summer in Germany, where Germans will take alcoholic beverages to a park along a river, or they celebrate Father's Day by men pulling wagons of alcohol as they walk around in groups getting, well, I'll just say drinking a lot. Or in our town's carnival parade, people in the parade were just handing out shots to those along the streets without any legal dilemma on whether or not they should do that. So the situation in the US is actually quite complicated when it comes to laws about drinking in public. There are no federal laws against drinking in public, but in some states you have outright bans statewide against public.
Yeah, in Ohio you have that.
Drinking. In some states, it varies city by city, or even in some cities, they will have specific streets you can drink publicly on, and then not on other streets. One such town that is different from most others in the state of Texas by allowing drinking in public in the main downtown area is Fredericksburg, Texas, which probably stems from the fact that, well, it's extremely German.
Welcome to the #1 celebration in Fredericksburg, Texas, Oktoberfest.
But this is where you get the whole brown bag
She didn't sound very German to me.
stereotype over alcohol bottles to try and hide that you're drinking in public.
Yeah, that's what you have. That's what I'm talking about. You buy a drink with a paper bag, you put it over the bottle, so that that's how you drink in the United States.
Whereas in Germany, this is completely unnecessary. One supposed reason this is done this way in the US is to try and stop public intoxication, but I don't really know. Pretty soon, the culture shock wore off on that German train with a group of women sipping wine as they weren't clearly publicly intoxicated. And instead, more a shock that I was even shocked by someone just drinking in public started to set in. Big question about buying alcohol that leads to surprisingly different answers is, where do you buy alcohol in the US and in Germany? The US is a complicated patchwork of laws, again, that pertain to who is actually allowed to sell alcohol. For example,
Yeah, the thing is, if you're a high school kid and you're working at checkout and somebody's buying alcohol, you have to get somebody who's of I think 21, maybe 18, 20, whatever, and they have to scan it so they can actually sell it. That's how that works. And they have liquor stores and things like that in the United States. I'm sure they do in Germany as well.
Example, in Oklahoma, where we are originally from, grocery stores were only allowed to sell low percentage alcohol drinks up until just the fall of 2018.
For the first time in Oklahoma history, grocery stores can now sell wine and strong beer. News on 6's Sawyer Bussey is live with what you need to know about the state's new liquor laws that start today. Sawyer?
And I remember very vividly that right before we moved out of the US, grocery stores started stocking wine for the very first time, and I remember seeing aisles with wine on the shelves roped off, waiting until the first official day when they could legally sell it. Even still today, when we go home,
Yeah, we didn't have that problem in Ohio. You could buy wine at grocery stores for a long time. It wasn't a big deal in the United States. Sorry, in Ohio, but I guess in Oklahoma it was.
to visit, we are so used to grocery stores in Oklahoma and convenience stores in Oklahoma not being allowed to sell nearly any alcohol that it takes us by surprise to see wine in a grocery store. In contrast, German grocery stores will have large alcohol sections containing wine, beer, other high percentage alcohol beverages, and so on. When our American family comes to visit, they often will still walk these aisles in amazement at the sheer quantity of various alcoholic drinks our local grocery store offers, because even with Oklahoma grocery stores being allowed to carry them now, the selections are still honestly quite small. If you want a large selection of alcohol in Oklahoma before the laws were changed, and even still to some extent today, you would have to go to a specific liquor store.
Yeah, liquor stores. I mean, there are a lot of liquor stores in the United States where you can buy all different kinds of alcohol and different wines, things like that, and hard beers.
These are stores that either don't exist in Germany at all, or if they do, are so uncommon that I have personally never even seen one.
Okay, I guess I was wrong. I thought they would have liquor stores in Germany. I guess they don't.
The closest equivalent to what an American liquor store looks like in Germany would be Getränkemärkte. Getränkemärkte essentially translates to drink markets or drink stores, and when we first saw a Getränkemarkt in Germany, we assumed they were the exact same thing as liquor stores in the US. However, we later learned that basically because of the very different alcohol cultures between the US and Germany, these two types of stores are absolutely not the same thing. Because with grocery stores selling the amount of alcohol they do in Germany, there just simply isn't the need for strictly liquor stores like in America. In fact,
yeah, I guess I can see that. And yeah, okay, so I guess it's just it's a drink store, but just has all different drinks. It has orange juice, milk, water, carbonated water, soda, pop, whatever you want to call it, and alcohol.
the distinguishing factor of these Getränkemärkte in Germany is that they are not just specific to alcohol and are basically just a purely general drink store with massive selections of beverages, including alcohol beverages and sodas and juices, for example. To see who made it this far into the video, the random question of the week is: what's your favorite thing to do on a nice summer day? Thanks so much for watching, guys. Be sure to hit those like and
I like to stay inside. I like to take a walk. There's a lot of things I like to do on a good summer day.
subscribe buttons, and I will see you in our next video.
Okay, this was 5 things totally normal to Germans but very strange to Americans. This was interesting. Alcohol culture shocks. Please click like, share, and subscribe for Passport 2. They do a great job, as well as down there for me. I would appreciate it. Thanks for watching. Have a good rest of your day.